This is the website for the Meyerland Middle School, but it's similar, I know, at Pershing, and I don't know a lot about the Pinocchio audition, but it's generally the same format, where they will come in, they'll do a still life drawing, they'll show 3 to 5 works of art, and they'll discuss what they like about art and what they want to do in art. And so I know, like, looking at this, when I came and looked at it, I was like, it does look really hefty and intimidating, but it's like simpler than that. So I did a little slideshow, and on the recording, I'll just like show the slides, and I can send this if you want to. This is all that information, and I broke it down. So in the audition, they're doing a still life, which is just a picture of something that cannot move, if you're not in art, like a bowl of fruit or a vase of flowers. They're gonna do an animal skull. And I actually was gifted an animal skull by a high school teacher.
Cool. I love that.
I don't even know what animal this is, but one student told me it's a deer that they hunt, and he said this is a deer, but I'm like, you know more than me, I don't know.
I want to say it's a cow.
Yeah, it's really big.
It's too big for a deer. Yeah.
But I brought that out to let the students practice, and the good thing about that is that you don't have a perceived idea of it. If you're like, if I told you to draw an apple, you could do it right now. You would draw the shape of the apple with the stem and maybe a leaf.
I'm not a good drawer.
The still life, you have to look at what you're drawing and draw what you see. And that's really challenging when you already have that idea in your head. And so I tell the students to look at what you're drawing while you draw. And one good thing to do is called a blind contour line drawing, where you hide your paper. Like put like a towel or something over your hand while you look at something and draw, and it helps your hand-eye coordination. So your eye does what your hand sees. So in art school, the idea is that you don't look as much at your paper as you do at what you're drawing. So when you draw from real life, you're looking at what you draw. And so that's the challenge to the students. So I tell them every 3 seconds to look up at what you're drawing. Look back down, 3 seconds, look up. So you're not just staring at your paper and drawing what you think you're supposed to draw instead of what you see. And so some of the things that they can do at home to practice, I'll do that in a minute. I tell students to draw their shoes. Like put a shoe on a table and draw your shoe, because again, that's something that you don't already have in your mind, like an apple. If you grab an apple or an orange or make a bowl of fruit, we can all kind of draw fruit out of our imagination, but your shoe is harder. Or like a water bottle, like the plastic water bottle that has the little ripples on the side. If you take the label off, those are good things to practice drawing. They did specify that they wanted to see value, which is just lightness and darkness. It's areas of shading and shadow. And there's different ways that you can do that. And I do offer a portfolio club, and I'll tell you more about that, where we can practice. We do practice this every year in my class. But I see them once a week and then we move on. And so over the course of 6 years, it might sink in, but it's good for them to have an opportunity to practice. They're just going to be given a number 2 pencil and copy paper. So I was thinking we can get some fancy pencils, different number 8 pencils or different drawing pencils we can get. There's blending sticks you can use that are made of cotton, but I don't think they'll have those at the audition. So I don't think they should practice with that. Just a regular pencil, any kind of paper, copy paper off the copier. And I think the best way to blend is to practice the pressure that you put down on your pencil. So if you press really hard, it makes darker areas, and if you just lift your arm and barely touch your paper, it makes lighter areas. And they can practice doing the hatching, which is where you can see the lines all kind of going the same direction. And one thing to think about is following the shape of the line. So if your line is diagonal, you move diagonal. If it's a curve like an orange, your lines are curved. You know what I mean? So following the shape of the object and pressing harder in the darker areas and lifting your hand slowly, and then taking your finger and smudging it to create that kind of blending effect that's down there. So I can do more of that in class, and also I will offer a portfolio club next week in December 1st, where students can come and we can practice doing shadow and shading. And so they did specify that just lines is not going to be adequate, showing areas of dark and light. So just practicing looking at shadows, areas where it's shaded, and kind of pressing harder and practicing doing not just a line, but I call it little sketch lines, where you're you're just doing little short lines. Like when you take steps when you walk instead of leaping everywhere. I tell the kids, do little sketch lines because it's easier to get to where you're going rather than
It's
just.
a lot of persistence.
A lot of what?
Persistence and not giving, like getting tired.
Yeah, it is. It is exhausting. Art can be really tiring, actually.
I feel like I would just get like, I'm drawing these lines for good.
Yeah, and a lot of kids, I'm a pretty quick artist. I do things pretty quickly. Hey, thank you. It's okay. But some people, it's more about, like you said, not getting restless and like, I'm tired of doing this, I'm gonna slop it down. Obviously, you can't do that if you're auditioning. You know, like if you wanna pursue art, you're gonna have to have a little endurance when you create art, which is one reason I'm not in the field of like graphic design, and instead I'm teaching it because I also get kind of restless. So, for the portfolio, they want to see 3 to 5 works of art, just regular size paper. You know, they said limit it, 16 by 18 is too large. That's pretty big. That's really big. I don't think it's necessary to do large sheets of paper. Smaller stuff is easier for kids to get done in their time frame. It can't be anything, you know, where it's like 3-dimensional, where it comes up off the paper. No digital art or photography. They don't want craft materials, so you're not gluing things down onto the paper. Which I'm gonna clarify with the teachers if collage is acceptable.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, like, would collages be acceptable? But it almost sounds like
I think they
maybe
want to
not.
see. So this is another thing too. In elementary, the curriculum is really focused on like exposure and process. Whereas when you get into middle school and high school, it's focused on skill and ability. And so I do a lot of abstract art and expressionism, and we look at different genres and artists, and we're just learning about art and what kind of art we like. When they get into middle school, they're gonna do a lot of realism and drawings. I know they do a big one in 6th grade.
Cadet Fuel is a lot of still life.
Yes, it is a lot.
So much still, like the first year and 6th grade, because I mean, it was a different tour this time than whenever, but I remember the art teacher says that basically you do still life for the first year.
Yeah, they
So
do
if
a
you don't
big
like
project.
Doing still life.
They do a
Yeah.
project where they draw their hand.
Oh my God, the
It's
hands.
a huge one.
I got
Yeah.
to see it between Lily Fleming
Yes.
and Jack Fuel. It's like.
So, and it's
It's
learning that
intense.
you can't just do what you want. You have to do what they tell you to do, which is very much, as you get older studying art, very much a thing.
I think that's hard for artists too.
It does. It sort of sucks the creativity out of it to focus on the skill, and then you can get back to the creativity with your skill once you have that in place. Just like you can't write a novel until you know the structure of sentences and have an expanded vocabulary. You have to have the skill before you can really throw your creativity, and use it. So it makes sense, but it's hard. It's a hard transition. I do think a variety is good if you do things like, you know, I had a student that did this, add like an abstract art, use permanent markers, use colored pencils, do one that's a still life, maybe a portrait. Have a variety in those 3 so that they can see the different things that your child is interested in and is capable of doing. So that's what I put here. This is what they have for the interview aspect of it. They're gonna want you to explain why you want to be in visual arts in middle school. So just have your child think about why they want to continue working in art, like what they like about it and where they see it going for them. What kind of art do you like to create is a question that I think that they should think about. So do they like illustrating? Do they like doing still life? Do they like abstract? Kind of think about, what do they like about art? What do they like to make? Are there artists or genres that really inspire them? That might be a little advanced at this point, you know, but just thinking about why they like art and why they want to continue doing it, and have that prepared to discuss with them. Then they have to discuss their portfolio. So when you're choosing the artwork that you want to put in it, it should be things that they feel proud of and that they can talk about. And so you want to put in your best material, but you also want it to be things that your kid feels good about and enjoy doing so that they can express that. I think They want to see some skill, but they also want to know that their students are going to be passionate, they'll put forth effort. And so they want to see that kind of passion and energy when they're interviewing them. They just need to know that they're that if they're putting them in that position, that your kid is going to try. They're going to do their best. And so this is the sheet I gave you just as a little reminder about the things that you can do right now to help your student. Preparing, just having them creating art. We do stuff in class they can keep. We're working on rodeo art right now, which is probably a good thing they can include because they'll do rodeo art in middle school. Think about having them practice still life. Like I said, draw a shoe, draw a water bottle, find unusual things that they can, around the house that they can pick up, some keys. Kids like to draw their pencil, lay a pencil next to them and they practice drawing their pencil. Think about showing shadow and shading. So one thing you can do is turn off the overhead lights and have a lamp. So there's one spot of light shining, then that creates really good shadows.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So stuff like that is going to help them practice, but also letting them get out. If they have materials at home they like to work with, paints or markers or colored pencils. You can look up things on the iPad, look up a landscape, and they can draw a landscape, look up pictures of things. I know that as they get older, things like anime is kind of frowned upon. I don't really understand the hate for it.
Honestly though, so like because I was with Lily and Jack and everything, but they were going through that, like I know I didn't really find it to be a problem for those kids, because but Jack really liked drawing anime.
Yeah.
And I think it turned out okay.
Yeah,
I think it was fine.
I would say just avoid putting that in a portfolio. There's just some sort of turnoff where I think that there's some kids that are so obsessed with like Goku. That's a thing right now. I don't even know what it is. It's an anime show.
And I think like for art teachers and people who are like developing skills, like those are things that are extremely easy to copy.
Right.
Like,
is that what it is?
Literally, I mean, it's like cartoon characters.
Yes.
And it's just basic shapes composing a person's little caricature.
Yeah, the mouth and the
portrait.
nose, it's like a little letter L in a line, so
takes
it's
like
not.
zero. I hate to be a bitch, but it's inappropriate, but like it takes zero skill. So
Gotcha.
it's just like, not. It doesn't show like the breadth of the kids' skills. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I am going to be offering a portfolio club. I put here. I talked about it with Julie Doyle Madrid and Jeanette Miller, and we decided we want it to be available to every student regardless of pay, but a suggested donation of $25 per class. There is a link to sign up on the PTO membership website that I'll post on Dojo. So it's just for 5th grade, and I don't really have like a limit because I don't imagine, I don't know, I said 30 kids can show up for a group. It's like a class size and I can work with that. So I think there should be space for everybody. You can come one time or both times. You can sign up. And what I'll do is I'll go through this information with the 5th graders, and then we'll sit down and practice doing still life drawings and value scales, and discussing what kinds of things they can put in their portfolio and brainstorm with them. And we can like write some notes. Then they can go work on it at home and bring it into class and let me look through it. And so I am also here to advise them on what artworks to put in their portfolio. And then we can also kind of discuss and brainstorm, like I said, those questions for the interview. Why do you want to be in art? Why do you want to do that? And what kinds of things interest you?
Can they still, if they don't have art this year, can they?
Yeah, students come in, you can come in during my planning period at 2:15 to 3, so during recess.
Okay,
A lot of kids stop by.
okay, gotcha.
Is Winter in art this year? She's in art. No?
She
I
has
just
Leslie
see
this
her.
year. She has Leslie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she can come by during recess. She just can talk to, come and ask me. Great. Like, when's a good day? Wednesdays, we usually have our meetings with our admin.
Okay.
So Wednesdays are not good, but generally, I'm in here
Monday or
cleaning from 2:15
Does she
to
come
3.
Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah.
Simpson's not gonna.
Yeah, Fridays are not an option. They leave. But yeah, Monday and Tuesday, that's usually a good time.
Okay.
Monday is the best. Tuesdays and Thursdays I have pre-K, and
Yeah.
so I don't have time in the morning to prep.
Julie, when is the, I'll look at the thing, but when is the portfolio workshops?
It's gonna be on November 15th, next week on Wednesday,
Okay.
after Magnet, 3:40 to 4:40, and Friday, December 1st.
Perfect, okay, cool.
So I tried to switch the days, like a Wednesday and a Friday, and it's during that club time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And then, you know, we can see, this is my 9th year at Parker, and my first time to be like, oh, I should do this. Because every year I have a few parents reach out to me, and then their kids will bring stuff to me.
I read that audition. I thought, oh, it's not going to be a big deal. Then I was like, oh, words.
Yeah.
I was like, a lot of words I don't know.
It's not really a big deal, but they're being very specific in it about what they want to see, which is great, so that you can prepare for it.
I know that following instructions is also like super, super important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, a friend of mine's child is in 8th grade in the visual arts program, and her biggest struggle is like time management and actually finishing the project, and like,
Yeah.
and when they're told to do something, they have a really hard time doing it, but when they want to do it independently,
Oh, I've
like
watched
the child won't
struggles of
finish,
the art students.
and then when they take it home, they'll finish it, but then it's too late, and so it's just kind of, that was feedback too that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The time management, and also I think with the creativity, like, I am very open to giving the students, this is our objective, as long as you're meeting the objective, I can be flexible, whereas I think when you get older, that there's less of that. Like, I need you to do what I tell you to do.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
Can you find out if, like, at the audition, if there's gonna be a lot of written instructions?
Yes.
And if, like, especially with directions and for just like winter's sake, like,
That's a good
if
point.
somebody can, like, assist and read for kids who, you know, who have dyslexia. Or,
Yeah.
Cause I know, like, that can become, that's where I'm thinking about directions being really important.
If they have to
They're just,
read
like,
something
written
and follow
they have
it
to read it
within a certain time frame or something, yeah.
That gets super stressful.
I'm going this Friday, we have our PD day over to the middle school. Courtney Adams is the 6th grade.
I love him.
I do too.
He's 6th grade, he's doing.
He has been in the past, I'll double check, I texted him. So during audition times, we text.
He's the best. He's
Yeah.
just- I didn't even have a kid in his class.
Yeah, he's great, he's really funny. He actually was hired for my job before I was, because
That's
he's friends with
funny.
Brian Barry, but he decided to stay in middle school, so then they offered it to me.
They
So I was like,
love
great.
him
Yeah,
over there.
he's
He really is so good to those kids.
Yeah.
He's just super supportive.
he's very fun and he's very supportive, and so it's hard for me, he does the auditions, to imagine it being really stressful and rigid. It sounds stressful and rigid, but he's a very laid back guy.
You know, like, I guess, like, that's because what I had heard from, like, Lily and Jack a few years ago when they did it, and then I was like, in my mindset, like, that's what I thought, and then when I, like, read that, I was like, oh. But I don't know if they added that stuff on there because
I know, I was looking at the website
it
and
felt like it wasn't that, like, explicit previously. But
right,
haven't seen
I
it in a few
agree.
years.
It looks different than it used to. Where was
This would have been
this?
4 years ago, you know, yeah.
I don't know Colleen Burrows, but I've met Christina Gonzalez and Courtney Adams, and they are both really nice. They're both very friendly, supportive people, and they don't seem super strict.
I felt like,
Like,
yeah.
I think they're pretty open, but I know now they are limiting the number of students they're accepting more drastically than they used to in the past. So it forces them to be more rigid when they're doing the audition, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's probably why they're kind of putting more guardrails up.
Yeah,
Or, you know,
yeah, letting you know.
more items on on the rubric to tick off, so.
And that's a good point they said up there. We talked about anime, but any copyright cartoon images.
Ooh.
So anything like if they want to do a Marvel superhero or, I don't know, some kind of cartoon character from a game or a show, anything copyright, that's not going to be reviewed. And so that can't be in the portfolio.
Do they keep the I'm sorry. Do they keep the, so,
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm asking, so if we do two different schools, like for Ava, we're interested in purchasing in Meyerland.
Right.
So we don't have to do double the.
I will double check, but as far as I know,
I
they
felt
don't
like they
keep it,
could-
they just look at it.
Yeah, they just
Okay.
look at it and they take it with them. And that was 4 years ago when I
Yeah.
saw that, but like,
Also,
yeah, things
like,
change.
I'm just thinking about like how we like label artwork, like, you know, does the student's name, grade, elementary school, title of the work have to be on the piece someplace on the back? I know that's getting really specific,
Yeah.
but it's just like thinking about rodeo art, you know, like when you go to enter, if it's not done a certain way,
Yes,
you're
it is.
disqualified. Like,
It's a little bit different.
I'm sure it's not probably that way if it's not
I
on
felt like,
the
okay, so
portfolio
again, this is 4 years
instructions,
ago, but
but-
when Jack and Lily did it, it was literally like a folder, like a
Yeah,
3-ring
with
binder, and with stuff in it.
Yeah.
And it had their name on the outside, but maybe that, I
I
don't,
did for the club, I purchased small sketchbooks and envelope, like the large portfolio style envelopes for them to
Cool.
put their artwork in that has a label on
for
it
this club?
for this
Okay,
portfolio
perfect. I was
club.
gonna ask you, cause like, should we go to Texas Art Supply and buy a little portfolio, but it sounds like.
It's just a little,
you
you
got
know, a
it.
little plastic one that has the Velcro and you just close it shut, and so in different colors.
Oh, that's
It's
awesome.
cute.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
sketchbooks I bought have a cover that you can draw and write on.
Yeah.
So last year, HISD was given sketchbooks for an entire grade level, and I gave it to 4th grade so they could prepare for this. And so I was talking to Julie about purchasing some for 4th grade this year, because I have a feeling that those won't be provided
Yeah.
this year. Here, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off unless we